Today we play golf.
Let me show you how we do it in the pros.
Welcome to Behind the Golf Brand Podcast.
I never miss with the 7-iron.
A conversation with some of the most interesting innovators and entrepreneurs behind the biggest names in golf.
My friends with the golf clubs. I lived on the golf course. I lived on the driving range.
From pro talk.
You should learn something from each and every single round you play.
To fun from on and off the green.
Why would you play golf if you don't play it for money?
Just let me put the ball in the hole.
This is Behind the Golf Brand Podcast with Paul Liberatore. Behind the Golf Brand Podcast is sponsored by On Point, the revolutionary three-dimensional domed golf ball marker. On Point provides alignment recognition as small as a degree of inaccuracy from the planned course of the putt face angle. Endorsed by Jim Furyk, U.S. Open champion and 17-time PGA Tour winner. On Point alignment technology has been proven to increase putting performance and help lower your score. Visit onpointgolf.us and be sure to use code GA10 for a 10% discount. On Point, make more putts.
What's up, guys? Paul from Golfers Authority, and I have a very special guest today, all from faraway place called England. So they're about 6 hours ahead, I think. I'm not really sure, but I'm super excited to have him on the show. This is my friend JoJo from Manors Golf. I found Manors on Instagram probably over a year ago. I just thought they had a cool style and vibe just by looking at their Instagram account, and I had reached out to JoJo and I was like, hey man, this is cool. And we started working with them, and we've actually a review coming up with them soon on the site. So I can't wait to share that with you. But their clothes are like, I don't know, it's like this aesthetic that's just, it's like a little bit of old school and new school combined. And I love it because it's like bringing back like the core of the game. So without further ado, I have my friend JoJo Regan from Manors Golf. Welcome to the show, JoJo.
Cheers, Paul. Thanks very much for having me, man.
So where are you exactly? I know you're in London, right?
In London, yeah. London, England. West London, to be exact. But
is that the cool part of London? West London, you always hear about, like, oh, I don't know.
It's good. It's a nice part of town, but you still can't escape the rain over here. So yeah, we're doing our best to get out and golf as much as we can.
So when does the rainy season start in England now?
I mean, you can get it all year with London, in England, but now is where it really kicks off, and it's relentless, like heavy, relentless rain. So less than ideal conditions.
And so like really once that happens, pretty much golf is done then, right? It gets colder, I'm assuming, like higher up in England or in Scotland and stuff like that, and snow.
I mean, yeah, it gets cold. It does get cold even in London, but it's not never too bad. But you know, as long as if it's sunny and cold, I'm cool with playing in that. It's just when it's hammering it down with rain, that's when it's really struggle street with the old golf.
Yeah, so when I was in high school, my dad and I went to London or Scotland to play golf, and I've never been in a rainstorm like that in my entire life because it rained the entire time. And then I don't know if you guys know this, but like the courses in Europe or in England are way different than it is in the United States. So they just keep on going, like they're a straight line, right? And then they come back. Like here in the United States, like a zigzag. It's always close to the clubhouse. In Scotland, where we played, it wasn't even like that, and it just rained and rained and rained and rained and rained. And I was like, it was like sideways rain. Like, I was like, what the frick? And I think by like the 14th hole, my dad lost all the balls at that point because we were renting balls or buy balls. And he was like, okay, here's the real story. So we go to Scotland, we're going to play golf, right? And my dad's like, okay, we only had 5 balls, whatever. And so he was like, don't lose these balls. I was in high school and I was like, all right, fine. So out of 14 holes, he lost 4 balls and I still had my ball in my hand, right? So by the time he lost his last ball, he was like, all right, let's go back. And we literally walked for like 45 minutes back to the clubhouse. Like how far away we were. It was just pouring. I remember it was literally water coming down the sides of the mountain or the hills or whatever. I've never seen that before.
In Scotland, you've got the wind as well, man. It's tough. I was actually just out in Scotland not playing, and we were pretty lucky without the rain, but we still had like 30-40 mile an hour winds. So, you know, it's tough, dude. It's tough.
So cold too. Like it just beats you down. Like this is the summertime. Yeah. It was like pouring rain. And I'm from Arizona, and it's like it never rains here, right? Like ever. I think we've gone like 60 days without a drop of rain, they said on the news the other day. I was like, no wonder it's so damn hot. So I mean, it was cool to see the rain, but I was like, how do people play golf in this? But, and like the grass is all high and like mangy looking, you know, like it's like that. I don't know what you call that, but it's just different.
Yeah. Out in the rough, man. It's tough.
Your rough is tough. Your rough is tough. I should do a shirt that says that. Dude. I should be a Manors shirt. The rough is tough. And it's like JoJo Regan. Yeah. I'm going to trademark that. Hold on for a second. So I guess my first question to you is what what's your first memory of golf? Really? Like, how long have you been playing golf?
So I know it pretty well because my dad doesn't actually play, which is often how a lot of people get into the game through a parent or a sibling. But it was when we were on holiday, and because my birthday's in August, so we'd always go on a family holiday. And this particular time we spent it with another family of ours, friends of ours, and the dad played, but he didn't have a son at the time. So he was like, right, I need to give you golf. Like, so for my birthday, he gave me a little set of TaylorMades, the one with like the brown driver cover. He was like, you're going to be a golfer, you got to play. So my dad then would use it as an excuse to go out and sit on the phone while I was at the driving range. Get out of the house, and after that it's just something I just kind of fell in love with. Obviously, like we all do, we get that bug. And yeah, I mean, I grew up with the game. I kind of, like a lot of people, I think, fell out of playing in my teenage years because certain things become a bit more important, girls being one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
But we managed to get back into it kind of just before sort of my 20s, and then now it's life.
So did you grow up like in London or outside of London?
Kind of a mix. So I was in London for the first, sort of my like earlier years, and then teenage years was outside of town. And that's actually where I could pick up a lot more golf, because in London it's a bit tough to play anywhere right in the center. Mm-hmm. So when I got sort of 13, I think it was, moved out of town, and when I went to my senior school, which is, I guess, what is that? Like, I don't know, senior school.
High school? Yeah, high school.
That's when I started. Yeah, high school, exactly. That's when I started playing a lot more. Because
you're out of the city, right? So you're able to play a lot more.
Oh, exactly, yeah. There's so much more land and stuff.
So when did you start Manors? Like, how did that start? Like, is that your background? Is like apparel and stuff? Or like, what's the beginning? What's the evolution of Manors?
So it's not at all my background in terms of like actually producing clothes. But before Manors, I started a digital marketing agency, and I did that with two co-founders, and we specialized initially in web design and development, and then we started working on digital sort of strategy and social media marketing. So I was there for 7 years, and we specialized in working with e-commerce brands, like all startups, not big businesses to start with, but we were basically just the cheapest option for a long time. We were in the right place at the right time. We just hustled. We were all in our early 20s.
You're hustlers. Yeah, you're hustlers, and you know how to do you know how to do marketing. You're a marketer.
Yeah, but this is like 2012, and it seems crazy to say because it isn't that long ago. But you didn't have Shopify, Squarespace, Wix, so you had the early stages of it. So a lot of these founders who were starting their businesses just didn't have time to learn how to code. So me and a few friends, like I said, put the business together, and we got lucky.
I never knew that about you. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
I love this stuff. Like, this is what I love. Like, digital marketing is freaking awesome. I mean,
and it's great to be on the ground floor of it. And we ended up working with some big brands. The agencies
grew. Yeah.
But I just got bored of building like other people's brands. I mean, bored is probably the wrong word, but it's difficult, because we built some really interesting businesses.
But it's like you don't have the it's not yours, right? You're just a cog in a machine. So it's like you're not, the passion behind that brand there's none. It's like, okay, we're going to get it out there for you, and you still care about it. Don't get me. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's tough because like our job was we would get them to a certain point, and often if they became successful, then next stage is to take on a big agent. So you kind of have to.
Yeah, it's like they're like, oh, we're done with you. See ya. Thanks for getting us to stage 2, and you're like, wait a minute, we did all the work. Like you guys.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I never knew that about you, dude. That's so freaking cool. I love talking to marketers. Like I think in golf, well, I think in really any brand, development, like. A lot of people have come up with really cool designs or products, but they don't know how to get it over the goal line. They have no idea, right? So they think, oh, I spent all this money on my patents and trademarks and blah, 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 blah. And then they said, I went to the PGA show. And it's like, dude, it doesn't matter. Like, no one knows who you are, and you don't have a message. So no one's ever going to buy your product. Sorry. Like, that's just the truth. And then, I mean, I learned that through my own father, like 20 years ago when he was doing his golf training aid. Like, same thing. Like, nobody knows who you are, so it doesn't matter.
And I think the kind of the fortunate thing that we had at Manors from an early stage was, so there's three separate to my agency. There's two other founders. So there's three of us in total. And, my marketing and sort of background in building a business, Luke is one of the co-founders. He's a director. He does short films, commercials, music videos. So super creative. And then Nick, he's fashion, is by trade, knows fashion. So you kind of bring those three elements together. And I think it's kind of quite
a trifecta.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
a better word, right?
Yeah, it's like you got it. You have what you need to build a successful brand, right? Like,
yeah, it just works, and so that's why, like, I have a different side of my brain to the other guys, but together it created what we have. And I think that's why, yes, the business is sound, and that's kind of what I want to bring to it. But then like Luke and what he can bring from a creative standpoint with visuals and video, like, you guys have seen what we've put out there. Like, I think that helps people understand the brand and resonate with the brand, because then it's not just about buying products, because, it's good product. It's also about kind of feeling associated with the brand and seeing it evolve, which is, a huge part of building any business now.
Yeah, the story, right? Who they are. It's not just about the product. You can have a really cool product that is innovative and cool looking, but like if there's no story behind it and the understanding, like it doesn't get you there. So what year? So do you still have the agency? Did you guys sell it, or did you sell it?
So my co-founders are there. They still run it. We did a management buyout, so it's not my day-to-day anymore. But I still have an interest in the business, and I chat to the guys every day. It's really important as well to stay in tune with what's going on there, because it's directly attributable to Manors.
100%, right? Your hands on the pulse of marketing, of digital marketing, and of what's like there. It's like that's good that you still have that, because then you're able to know what's happening, what's working, what's not working. And I mean, you already have the background, so, but just, it's always evolving, right? Digital marketing's always evolving. And I found that out. So, and
I think now is harder than ever to build a brand. I think that, and when I say build, and I think because when we were launching brands in kind of 2016,
everybody
you could chuck something up and everyone's willing to follow and like, and people could grow these accounts so quick that with not really much substance. Now people are way more follow shy. So we're growing and it's great to see, but it's way more difficult to engage and convert people into followers. They might like your stuff, but actually growing an audience is a much more difficult thing now.
I would disagree. I mean, I think you saw that last year. Here's some nerd talk for everybody. I think you saw that last year on Instagram, because all of a sudden they did their like algorithm change or whatever the hell they did back in the summertime. Was that last year? Yeah, it was last summer. And like, it's hard as hell. Like, first of all, I just want you guys to know on Instagram, just because you post something on your feed, it doesn't mean it's going to show up on your people's feed, because they're messing with that. And second of all, it's hard as hell to get followers. Like, I don't know, it just is. I mean, unless it's hard. I mean, every brand has it. So the people that have like 100 or 200,000 followers, like they earned that in the last 3 or 4 years, but they're not getting that many a month anymore. They're probably getting like a couple hundred a month if they're lucky.
Exactly. That was what I was saying.
Yeah, exactly. And I think people don't realize that, you can't go buy followers. That's bullshit. Number one, but two, like they're clamping down on that too, right? So, which is a good thing, because it makes the community better. But it's interesting you say that it is. I didn't think about that, because maybe I wasn't really in this game in 2016. Like, I see a lot of, I guess last year or maybe 2 years ago, I saw a lot more. I call them wannabe brands, that people are like wanting to make a brand. They put up a Shopify store and like they buy some stuff from China, right? And then it's like, but I'm seeing less of that now. And I think because one, because of COVID, but two, I think people are just kind of like burned out on that, right? So like as a consumer.
It's also the way the platforms are now leveraged is, again, like you touched on, they want, when I say they, we mean Facebook, and via Facebook or Instagram, they want you to have to pay to get in front of people. And so that is why it's now so much more difficult. The barriers to entry have gone up. So you can't just drop some merch, made in China merch, without having to also put a lot of cash behind that. And so I think people are less interested in doing that, because there's no easy wins.
There's none. I mean, I know it's funny we're having this conversation. I just find it interesting because like I see it too. I mean, I don't have that kind of merch or anything like that, but I mean, I've seen it where Facebook wants to control everything. And in case anybody didn't know, like even if you have like products on Facebook or Instagram, right? Like now they're like, oh, we redesigned it. And really what that is, they want you to pass through them now. They don't want you to jump off their site and go to Shopify. They want you to purchase through Facebook, right? Like they're trying to control the pipeline, right, of the sale, which in my personal opinion is bullshit because it's not their business, right? But then it's like, well, you want to use our platform, you got to play by our rules.
Yeah.
Not cool. So what year then did Manors start?
So the first conversations were 2018. We did, we kind of shook hands informally on a deal in 2018. And then we started working on the project late 2018, early 2019. And then we launched our first product June 2019. So like in the
when I first started talking to you then, right? Like I did, like that's when I started talking to you. Yeah, a couple weeks. So then that first drop you had, like how long did it take you to get to like, I guess, level 1, right? To get it out there. Did it take you like a while?
I'd say, I mean, bearing in mind that Nick obviously had some experience, but we still had a lot to learn. Yeah. And we definitely bit off more than we could chew in terms of the number of products we decided to bring out. That's obviously with hindsight in mind, but it was probably an 8-month process. And a lot of the issues were around finding a manufacturer to work with, because obviously all our stuff's made in England. So, you know, there's a lot of people.
Is it really? That's badass, dude. That's awesome. I love hearing that.
So a lot of stuff was, you know, manufacturers that were great, but then they were like, you're new, I don't know who you are, I don't have any capacity, and your quantities are too low. So we had to find manufacturers that were willing to kind of take a risk on us, which takes a long time. Now, you know, because they can see a nice website with nice product and everything, they go, oh, great.
Oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, but when you're like level, like in the beginning, they're like, who the hell are you? Right?
Yeah, because again, like, you know, the guy we ended up working with, he said that he'd get 50, 60 inquiries a week saying, hey, I'm a brand, I'd like to work with you. Can you produce my clothes? And he's got to sieve through all of that to work out which is good, which is bad. And by the way, which, you know, whilst managing the big clients he's already got.
Yeah, that was already producing. See, I love to hear that because, like, I mean, when I hear that a brand is actually from the country or the state or the city, whatever it is, like, and that's where they actually produce the product, like I have way more respect for that brand. Like Dormy, for example, like they're Nova Scotia, 100%. Everything's made in Canada. Like that's badass, right? Like, and I think there's less of that. I think because we're just a global gig economy that like there's less of it, right? Yeah. But when you hear a brand like, hey, we're made in England and we're an English brand, that's like, okay, you're badass. You know, like
a lot of our stuff where it's made, I can take the tube to. You know, it's in East London, so it is important for us, I think, because you know quality is a big part of our our mantra at the brand. So being able to actually hold and touch and be tactile with it, but also like don't want to get into politics, but Brexit.
Yeah,
our whole world that's evolving. Like a lot of people produce in Portugal, or a lot
of shoe companies do. A lot of shoe companies.
But it's tough to know like what's going to happen post Brexit. So actually, let's lock in higher prices to produce here, but at least we know what we're in for. We don't.
You know what you're paying, and you're not to worry about like Brexit issues or whatever it's going to happen.
And that's one element, but it is more important for us that it is made in England. And when we've had conversations with accounts in Japan and Korea, and we work with one in Japan already. Their customers love it. They love that it's made in England, and I think that's something that we're taking into account when we're considering plans for future collections as well.
That's cool. I never knew that about you. I respect that very much because I have a profound appreciation for that because, a lot of brands I talk to can't produce their product in the United States. Mm-hmm. And it's not because we don't have the infrastructure, but it's because of the cost, right? And because like for molds or whatever, but it's like when a brand, and maybe it's with apparel or I don't know if it's really true. But a couple brands I've talked to recently that are like, oh yeah, we're made wherever. I'm like, oh really? That's awesome. Like that's phenomenal.
I think that the tough thing is the cost of production is higher and you have to pass that cost on to your customer, right? And we are obviously a golf brand. We sell to, in a market that is saturated with Nike, the Under Armour, the Adidas. Yeah. Those guys have very loyal consumers. And if you put a Manors polo next to a Nike Dry Fit polo, fundamentally two very different products, but one is going to be able to retail at, $40 and ours are, in the sort of 80 to 90 range. They're completely different products, but we have to kind of explain that story to people. So if we came at it if we came to the market and said, hey, don't shop Nike, shop us because we sell exactly what they do, but with a different brand, then that's not going to work. So for us, we come at it from a different angle. We are a lifestyle brand. We are a cotton, an English cotton product. We're not a dry fit, so it's chalk and cheese when you actually break it down. And I think so much of that's our responsibility to explain that to consumers, because, we get messages from people saying, dude, $80 for a polo, like that's crazy. And it's like, well, it's like, I understand. You understand.
Yeah.
But you have to educate people about the production process. Like, this isn't made in China. This is English cotton in a London factory or Leicester factory. It doesn't even take into account like the marketing, the content budgets, the wages, everything that comes into it. And that's a whole new world for us, which we're enjoying, but it's a process that, takes time.
I had the same conversation with Dormy a couple weeks ago, and it was the same thing, right? Like, they're like, oh, you have a $120 head cover. And like initially that was always a big, people are like, I'm not gonna spend $120 on a head cover. And it's like that initial couple years of growing the brand, like people had to understand, like, look, you're not buying some cheap thing, right? You're buying a handmade product in Canada made by an artist, right? And that like there's qualities there. And now people just know, like, oh, but I think in golf, I think we have an advantage, right? Because people are used to spending money on nice stuff, right? And so it's like in other products, other sports, not so much, right? Like basketball or baseball or something else like that. Like, you're not gonna go buy an $80 basketball shirt, right? Or a baseball shirt or squash or whatever, cricket. Like, so I think golfers are used to spending money, right? Like one club's $500. So it's like, if you want a quality bag, or a quality whatever, you're used to spending the money. So I think it's like, it's hard because how do you still overcome that, right? When people are not used to spending that kind of money, right? Like, oh, I don't want to spend, $80 for a polo. It's like, but you already are, and you go buy a polo brand polo. How much is a polo brand polo? $70, $60?
I think it's $75.
Yeah. So same price. You're used to it's because you're buying something quality, right? So it's hard. I think the balance is hard.
It's like, if someone offered you a Scotty Cameron putter for $100, you'd be like, what's up? There's got to be something.
Yeah, it was made in China and you typed on Scotty Cameron, you spelled it wrong. People like,
because that Scotty Cameron putters don't cost $100, and that's because as an educated consumer,
yeah,
you know the brand, right? So I think every time we get product in people's hand, for us, that is an opportunity for us to showcase the quality that we have, like what I've spoken about already. And every time we do that, people always come back to us and like, dude, the quality, man, like even on the t-shirts and the fit and everything.
Dude, it's sick. Like the ones you sent me, I was like, holy it blew me out of the water. Like the detail and the sewing. I know it sounds really weird to you guys, but like the detail and the sewing for when you had like the I think, what collection was it? They had Jack Nicklaus, I think it looked like, right? Yeah. And I was like, holy crap, how do they sew that into, like, you just looked at it and go, that's Jack Nicklaus. But like they sewed it like that. I don't know. Like you could tell.
That alone, our Icon collection.
The Icon collection.
Yeah, because those ones there, they've all sold out. And those icons, I think we did like 7 or 8 embroidery samples to get to that quality, which is just enough that you can tell who it is and that, it looks like good, but not too much that the detail then becomes a bit weird.
Yeah, like too much.
Yeah, and the sizes and everything. So what you see as a final product is like with any fashion brand, there's a lot of iterations that have got you to that point.
I don't know. I just think it's really cool because it's like, you get what you pay for in golf, I feel like. And so if people are used to buying something cheap, there's really nothing cheap in golf. There really isn't. Like you can see it in different products, right? Like you see it with gloves, right? Because gloves are going up in price, right? Hats, like people, like other types of apparel, shoes. I mean, you're seeing a lot of new brands come out that are shoe companies that are not like the FootJoys, right? Like I work with a bunch of them, like Royal Albert Ross and who else? Like Duca del Cosmo. Yeah. Like it's more of a higher end shoe, but it's fashion, it's like a fashion golf shoe, which I think people want something cool, and unique and are willing to spend the extra money because we're talking about golf, right? Like, it's not like this is what we do for fun.
It's funny because I think with golf, like, let's say you go to the pro shop and you've gone on holiday somewhere and you're playing and you need to buy some balls. You're not really that price conscious. You're thinking you might have a favorite ball. You might have one that is meant to be market leader, but you always end up leaning towards paying for a premium ball because you think it might just help you score one less shot, or it might just help you a little bit. And that's the thing with golf is there's so many variables in the game. Like, there's one thing that for us as a brand that we want to take out of it is, this whole stigma around golf clothing and this idea that if you dress as a golfer, you're easily identifiable on the high street. Like, that guy is either going to play golf or has played golf. For us, it's like shooting a 79 or an 89 it's not going to be the difference between me wearing a dry fit polo and me wearing, a chilled cotton, blend, whatever, something comfortable. So we're just talking to the amateurs out there, which make up 99% of the game, to say, like, you can just take a step back, relax, look good while you play, and take the look on and off the course, because that's something that...
Yeah, wear it with your friends or going to go to a pub or when you wear it at home with your family or whatever. Like, it's still comfortable, cool clothing, right? Like, even though it's golf related. And I think you see that with like other brands too. Like, you look at True Linkswear, right? Like, they came into golf and they were like, hey, we're trying to make comfortable shoes. That's it, right? Like, you can walk in, because nobody walked anymore. And it's like, you change the narrative by coming up with something more innovative that like people want to use or wear. And I think that's you're seeing that a lot more now. I feel like, well, not with some brands,
They've done a great job, True Links. It's funny because you say no one walks. In England, no one gets a buggy.
Yeah, somebody told me that, because I was talking to Moto Caddy, and they're like, yeah, no one walks. Everyone uses a cart here. I'm like, seriously?
Yeah, all carries. Whereas in the States, anytime I play
complete opposite.
Yeah, and it's the same in Scotland as well and stuff. But comfortable shoes are essential in the UK because you do a lot of walking.
And they're hilly. It's hilly as hell. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's not often that flat. Yeah,
man, you British. Just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I was just impressed by like what you guys were doing initially. First by your Instagram, I was like, oh, this looks cool. And I like your logo, and I was like, I'm a logo nerd. And so I was like, oh, it's a good logo. And then that's what kind of drew me in, right? Initially, just by I saw your logo, I think, on Instagram, and I was like, what's Manors? And then, we got to know each other. But like, what you guys are doing, there's only a couple apparel brands that I feel that are actually starting to move the needle on new cool fashion. Like, you guys definitely, and I work with Rada. I know who Rada is. Like, same, like, I love bringing everyone to the game, right? Like, you don't have to be that stuffy person wearing the polo shirt, and khaki pants every time, right? You could wear like comfortable clothing that looks cool, and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think, you mentioned Rada there. Like, there's a handful of brands.
Very small handful. I can't even think of that many, like, honestly.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of it is that there's a lot that pop up, but it's quite quick to identify the ones which have substance and the ones that might just
2 seconds.
Which is no problem. There's no problem that people are doing that. That's great because it's awareness building, right? But I think it's about having a genuine interest in trying to, like you said, move the needle. Our kind of mantra, if I had to put one down, is changing the perception of the game. And for too long, I think golf's been considered, and inaccurately potentially, but if you asked a non-golfer, you'd say, what do you think of golf? They're most likely going to mention, probably white, middle-class, elitist country club. And actually, there's so much going on in the game that isn't really highlighted, because that perception is in place, and it makes for a more interesting reading, right? But actually, we all know that there's a real undercurrent now, which I think is coming up. We are really proud to be part of it, but we also know that it's not just going to be us that will make that change. So we're very supportive of brands like Rada, and I even, we chat with them, more now so than ever. So it's exciting to be part of it, and I think it's a really early stages.
Oh yeah, it's very early. It's a couple years out, I think, before it gets like mainstream, but you're seeing it. Like, I mean, I'm seeing, I guess if you have your pulse on what's going on in the golf apparel world outside of like dry fit or like, special clothing made for weather, like I'm talking about cool apparel. There's only I can only count on one hand probably that many brands that are actually doing that. I feel like are moving the needle in a different direction. You know what I mean? And you guys are one of them. And that's why I wanted to
appreciate it, dude. No, and I think as well, the thing is, the States is a lot more progressive. So I've been lucky to play some good courses in California, you know, and LA and stuff. And like, there are places there where you can go and just play in a t-shirt and shorts. You know, the UK is still quite, and you know, the south of England and stuff is still quite far behind.
Is it really? That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much kind of, you know, like recently at the PGA at Wentworth Club in Surrey, Tyrrell Hatton, who's an Englishman, he won the comp. He's kind of local to the area as well. It's like £1 million purse, you know, so it's one of the biggest in Europe, because in the US, that's kind of nothing because the PGA events are massive there. But he won it, and he wore a hoodie, an Adidas hoodie every day. And the chat wasn't about him winning. It was that he won it in a hoodie. And, you know, it's kind of like, it's like
stigma, right? It's like breaking the stigma.
You know why, right? And I think it was really fun to see that conversation develop, because a lot of people look to us and they see a lot of, you know, people like, well, you guys sell hoodies. That's not really golf clothing. It's like, look, we identify that is not traditionally golf stuff, right? But let's think what was traditionally golf, you know, 60 years ago, 50 years ago, what it is now, and where can we take the game? And staying relevant is so important to that. So I think that we're seeing that change, but the US is probably 2 years ahead of where we are in the UK, maybe a little bit more as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing I'm starting to see, well, especially with COVID and talking to a lot of my friends at different brands, is like, you know, golf has always been a very inclusive sport, right? And so it was like you had to have money, right, and some fashion to be able to play. And you know, at least in the United States, with so many other sports on television, like baseball, football, you know, every single one, pretty much, like, you know, golf always took like, you know, numbers 5 or 6 on the list, right? Where people would actually care about. Now, guys would go play with their friends. Don't get me like, you know, like the normal stuff. But this year, because COVID, and you literally can't, you know, there was no sports on television, number one. And you couldn't really be around anybody. Like golf exploded here. I know it exploded everywhere around the world. But I think there's more new golfers than there ever was before. And it's like, which is cool, because now it's like you can make those changes in fashion and style. And these people are new to the game. So they're not already have a preset mind like, oh, I got to wear brown khaki looking pants with a polo shirt when I go play golf with my FootJoy shoes, you know? I don't know. And I think like for me personally, and with what we do, like I love working with brands like you, and, you know, because I wanted to get the word out on that, because I love that stuff, you know?
No, I agree, man. I agree. I think the interesting thing there, you make a great point about like we new people to the game. How we make sure that the first touch point might be something slightly different? A really good example is in cycling. Like cycling had a big boom in Europe, especially in the last kind of 10 years. And a brand that really took that, a lot of that was Rafa. I don't know if you've heard of Rafa, but they basically are kind of like heritage inspired, but modern cycling gear. And now anyone is like, if I don't cycle, but if I was to start cycling, I would buy Rafa clothing, because that is kind of in my psyche what I see as like, you know, cooling in cycling.
Cool, yeah, cool cycling clothes.
Yeah, I think if someone's now deciding, and I've had lots of my friends who don't golf go, dude, I'm gonna golf now. Like they know about us, but like some random average Joe who's decided to start playing, the first place he might go is his club pro shop, which pro shops around the UK, they're just stuffed full of what you would see as the, you know, currently is in golf, right? It's all the performance stuff. So the next kind of phase for us will be trying to creep into the right kind of clubhouses so that we can actually be there when people might be considering that first purchase, that first touch point.
That's the hardest thing. I had this argument with somebody yesterday on another brand, actually a cycling brand. I'm not a cycler, but like they're actually a mountain bike company. And I was talking about this, and they asked me, they go, well, how many, at least in my opinion, they said, do you think a lot of people shop in the pro shop? And I said, no. I'm like, I think they have to, right? They don't go to a pro shop and be like, I'm going to go buy all my new stuff today. Like, you know, they go there and they forget something, then they go buy, or it's cold out, or they need a hat, or they need whatever. They'll buy it, right? But I think like, I'm like, and I asked this person, I said, well, in the mountain biking world, do you go to a bike store and buy your stuff? He's like, no, I Google it and I find it, or I read about it. I'm like, exactly. The golf is the same way, right? Like if you're not playing golf that day and you're at the golf course, then you're not going to be buying at the pro shop ever, right? So, and I think, you know, that's what I like to do, is I like being able to put that message out there like, hey, you have options. There's other cool brands out there. You don't need to go buy a big a big five company's t-shirt. First of all, here's a news flash. They don't even make those shirts. They actually like subcontract with bigger apparel companies to make all their shirts. Just letting you guys know that because I know that for a fact. So it's not like if you go buy, a Callaway shirt, that was made at Callaway. That was made by somebody else. They just put a Callaway logo on it. So, I mean, when you actually go with like somebody like Manors or a Rada or somebody that's like innovative and coming out with cool gear, that's their stuff. It's not like they're going to get this made by somebody else. And I think people need to know that, right? Because people don't know where their stuff's coming from. So...
No, I think as well that more people want to know it. They want to know like where the product's coming from, especially there's so much going on about, especially in Europe right now, about wastage in fast fashion and all these fast fashion brands that, people are purchasing items they'll use once or twice because they're buying dresses for £8, $10. And they just use them and then discard them. And so this idea that like the Patagonia model of you buy and you own it and we fix and we change and we do, like that is something that people are a lot more conscious of. So the hope is they're willing to invest in a higher quality product, which they can use for longer. And that is something definitely, I don't know about the States, but I know that in the UK, it's something that people are really pushing on at the moment.
Yeah, it's happening here too. It's like, finding good products that you're not wasting money on, right? Like that is later going to turn into recycling material or whatever, throw it away. So did you guys like sell out or what? Because when I go to your website, it's like, oh, we're sold out on this, we're sold out on that. So you must have just killed it, right? On that first icon collection and some of your
I think the icons and stuff they've done super well, but I think just because it's just simple. We've had a lot of people copy them. I get sent like almost once a week. Someone forwards me a new Instagram link for some like brand who's just copied.
So original. I hate that shit. That makes me mad.
And it's like it sucks. But at the end of the day, like my co-founder Luke puts it in really good context where he's like, look, we love the icons, we find them fun, but fundamentally, it's not what we want to be known for. What we want to be known for is the quality polos that we produce. And like our trousers, for example, like, when we had our pop-up shop last year, which was like a long time ago, for the Scottish Highlands collection, our trousers were just selling super quick because, guys like to know fit, right? And I've got a couple brands, I know the fit and the style, and therefore I can buy their product online. But it's tough when you're trying to get people to buy for the first time. And like trousers and stuff have been really, really good sellers and a lot of repeat customers there. So, Icon's great. They're good fun. And like the Sunday pins, they're great. And it's just nice that the classic collection and the Scottish Highlands has had good annuity, people coming back more and more. So for reorders and things.
I love your classic collection. That's like that kind of style of shirt, like that polo shirt, traditional polo shirt that looks like, that's the kind of stuff that I like to wear, like just something nice. And, it reminds me a lot of like, a very well-made polo shirt, like polo brand, like, but back in the day before they like started coming out with a bunch of stupid stuff I don't wear. But I mean, you guys have like, I'm excited for you guys because I just feel like you're doing innovative stuff and you're bringing the game back to a broader audience that allows them to be like, look, you don't have to, we make high quality British apparel made in England, but it's still very, very cool and fashion forward with a really good story, like, and I love like wear your manners, like that's your hashtag. How freaking brilliant is that? You tell your marketing, dude. But I mean, like, so what's coming up? Like, are you guys, now that things are kind of slowing down in golf, are you guys coming out anything in the next couple months, or are you like waiting till January when the next big surge happens?
So we've got, we do have a little sneaky icon drop coming out in November. So that will be the 3rd. Slightly different this time. And we're going to just do it. We're going to run it just via the newsletter, just to keep it cool. sort of super tight knit. We didn't want to produce a bunch of them just because I think that right now with COVID, it's smarter just to keep things more curated. And so, we're dropping that in November. And then we're just going to ride out Christmas. We've got a bunch of stuff we're doing from a wholesale perspective that we've got opportunities to look at for next year. So we're finalizing samples. And it feels crazy because we're finalizing samples like at the moment that aren't going to be available until like, I don't know, like June next year or May next year.
Wow.
This is all part of the whole fashion cycle that you have to get into, and there's so much lead time. So that's keeping us busy.
That's so cool.
And, trying to fit in some golf as well around the weather and work.
You ain't golfing, bro. It's gonna be raining. It's gonna be cold. It's like, I don't know. Out here, I had a really good conversation the other day with somebody too, where they're like, "Hey, what do you think?" At least in the West Coast, right? Like right now in October, we reseed all of our grass, right? And then we just throw all the nice grasses out. And this will be this grass will lie until May, and then it all dies and it becomes Bermuda. So, but this person was asking me, they're from the Golf Channel. They're like, "Hey, do you think there's gonna be less people golfing in the West Coast, like Phoenix and Scottsdale, and because like we get a lot of Canadians that come in, right? Well, the border's closed. So it's like those people are not going to be traveling down here to play golf because they can't go home, right?" And I'm like, that's a really good question. I wonder, like, we've for the last, 9 months, 6 months, we've been busy as hell. But it's like, is that going to continue with the local players, or is like are we still going to have that surge of players because COVID's still here, And so I don't know. And I wonder how that's going to affect the golf market, right? Because like right now, traffic wise, I look on my site, I'm like, I don't see my traffic. My traffic's dropped a little bit, probably like 10% over a month and a half. That's normal, right? Because there's other sports on TV and it's winter and whatever is starting to happen. But I just wonder if like we're still going to see a constant when it comes to golf consumers through the holidays and then into January, February when all the new products come out,
Well, the thing I'd say is the thing I always know about Christmas is guys are notoriously quite tough to buy presents for, right? And we see a lot of wives, or sisters, boyfriends, whatever, will come on and they'll buy for Christmas because there's nothing better than gifting a golfer some golf-related merch, item, whatever. Like I know that whenever Christmas comes around, I'm just asking for golf balls or, golf shoes or whatever. So I think that from a consumer standpoint, December's traditionally usually quite good. But from a participation standpoint, definitely it is golf travel, like a huge part of the golf market. I mentioned I was playing Scotland last week, and we went up to Glen Eagles and we had an amazing time. And 4 of the guys that were there, they then went on to St Andrews. They stayed for a few days. And they were in the ballot to play on the Monday. And the ballot usually is notoriously tough to get a spot because obviously everyone wants to play. But because there's no tourists coming from Asia or any tourists from America, there was a bunch of availability. So they ended up playing the old course at St Andrews. And the guys there were like, the tourism is just shot, because none of the Americans can get there. They can't travel to Scotland.
Yeah, so it has to be really worth it. Yeah, like it has to be really worth it for somebody to travel right now. And then was like, yeah.
You just can't.
And it'd be interesting to see because I just don't know the answer. You know what I mean? I know holiday sales will probably be stable, right? Like normal. But this huge surge you've seen where everyone's sold out. I'm almost wondering like, are people going to be able to catch up, with their inventory during this time or not? Because I know a lot of people are having a hard time keeping stuff on the shelf, let's call it. And, one problem is because they don't make the stuff here in the United States, right? So it's like they're waiting on a shipment from China, which could take forever.
Well, but, even though we produce, like we said, we produce in England, but we can't get availability now on resupplying any of our cut and sew or any of our knitted product because everyone had to close down over the kind of summer period. So they're playing catch up to deliver a bunch of spring summer stock. Jeez. So just because, I think the trick here is just to say you'd rather miss out on a customer than you would have that on a bunch of stock, which again is like with the icons that we're going to drop in November.
Limited run. Yeah. Super limited. Only to your people on your list.
Yeah, and I just much rather leave money on the table, to use a kind of crude term, but leave money on the table than risk overshooting and actually sitting on a bunch of stock
or the stress of having all that, like just making a misfire, right? Like
exactly. It's not smart. It's not smart to try and predict because it's such an unpredictable market.
So you guys have a limited edition icon drop happening in the next month, let's say, or month and a half.
Yeah, it's going to be November. Yeah.
Yeah, and then are you guys going to do stuff then like for January, February, like when, or that is that kind of like the plan, or wait till summer?
We're going to have we'll have some stuff in spring.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a bunch of stuff over the summer. We've pretty much nailed down all of next year. We just got a few moving parts to sort out. But the beauty of having the classic collection is it's, from next year, it's going to be an always in stock range that we can, that people can trust to have a level of quality and a style and a size and fit that they can trust. So
yeah, it's a constant, right? It's like it's always like if they want to, like the people just know like, oh, they're always going to have that shirt, right? Like yeah. And if you want something outside the box, right, or something new or icon collection or something limited run, like those are just limited. So if you want to buy it, here's your chance.
Exactly.
We may or may not run it again. Like
we get so many messages from people being like, when are you going to restock the icons? It's like we said it was a limited run. Like it's like that's and I think and like that's cool. Like again, it's down to us to make sure that messaging's there, and also that there's even a demand for it in the first place. That for us is super exciting. But we've got to. If the icons were always in stock, it wouldn't be quite as cool. Yeah, probably like I said, we probably left a lot of money on the table, but
I don't know.
It's not about who we are. That's not our brand.
No, I think it's cool. Like it's like I think it's very smart, right? You're gonna have your you'll have your classic collection, which is always available, right? And then these items that you think are cool, right? And actually they're cool, and you're hoping that people think it is as cool as what what you guys do. Then you'll have a limited run of it, and if it sells out and people want more of it, then you can make the decision whether or not to do another run or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
No, I think it's sick, man. You guys are gonna kill it. I already know it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, I look at a lot of brands. I mean, honestly, you've been around for what, 14, 15 months? And it looks like you've been around for 10 years. You know what I mean? Actually, you say look like you've been around for like 5 years. Like, so,
I'll take 5.
Yeah, I mean, 10 is a long time. So I'm like, I don't want 10. That's kind of not right. But 5, where it's like you're an established brand with cool products. Your site looks amazing. Your design looks great. You make good products. You guys are going to kill it. I already know it. I mean, I'd be surprised, like 5 years from now, you'd be like, oh yeah, I know who Manors are, So good job. Good job, JoJo. I'm impressed. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks for being on the show today. I really appreciate, you working with us and, a year ago when we first started talking, and you're a big supporter here. You guys need to check out Manors Golf. It's cool. It really is. High quality. It's made in England, which I didn't know that till now. And like, they're doing the right things. And I love supporting brands that are just doing the right things. So be sure to check out Manors Golf. The video on their website is freaking so cool. I watched it like with him this morning. I was like, dude, that's the coolest video I've ever seen in my entire life on a website. So check out Manors, and yeah, thanks for being on the show today.
Well, thank you so much, man. You're a legend.
I'm a legend. I don't know about that. The legend's behind me with the cigarette in his mouth. That's what I want to be someday when I grow up. All right, bro. You take care.
Thank you. Thanks, brother.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Behind the Golf Brand Podcast.
You're going to beat me at golf?
Stay connected on and off the show by visiting golfersauthority.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment.
Golf is always more fun when you win.
Stay out of the beach and see you on the green.